It's no secret, and we've talked about it in a bunch of different ways, that the Bengals have added to their roster in a major way this offseason. From trading for Dexter Lawrence, to signing Brian Cook, to signing Boye Mafe, to going out and getting Kyle Duggar, all of these different pieces. It's very, very clear for me that expectations have changed. And Joe Burrow has made that clear as well. And we're going to hear a national analyst coming up in a few minutes that kind of points out what I think is pretty obvious, but points out what I think there's the reality is for the Bengals when it comes to this season. But overall, the pressure is certainly there. Expectations are there, and with expectations become pressure, there's certainly pressure on this team to deliver this season.
Well, when I think about where the pressure gets divvied up, I think about where the excuses have come from or been rooted in, and excuses or explanations, however you want to split it, have been rooted in over the last 3 years when the Bengals have been on the outside looking in the playoffs. And obviously, a lot of that has been injury-based with the quarterback position in Joe Burrow. And if he can stay healthy this year, that's a huge piece of this whole thing about where blame and pressure will get divvied up, at least in my mind. Because if Joe Burrow's injured again, misses significant time, then that will always be something that can be the coaching staff and front office can fall back on, is that they didn't have the quarterback or the roster that they thought they were going to have going into this season. And that was the plan, to be a contender. Obviously, that rests on Joe Burrow's shoulders. Now, once you cross that bridge and he's healthy this season, the excuses of the past 3 years are out the window. The lack of talent on defense, a change in a coaching staff, growing pains for a lot of young players. Well, those young players have been here now for multiple years. They've started for multiple years, and now there's been a huge infusion of talent this offseason from proven players from across the league, a level of proven talent that, quite frankly, we haven't seen added here in Cincinnati ever, much less in this Joe Burrow era. So all the talent conversations around this defense and the roster as a whole are out the window. You now have the horses on defense to run the race with the rest of the contenders in the NFL, and I think that's where this pressure lies, is now on the coaching staff to get it all right for these players once they're on the field.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and you're not alone, because Dominique Foxworth on Get Up making it very, very clear, coaches, players, a lot of people in the building that need to prove themselves and show that they're the right men and women for the job. Here's Dominique Foxworth on Get Up.
I think the expectations should be high there, and I appreciate that Joe Burrow is putting the spotlight on himself and making sure that the pressure is high now, because the pressure is high for the season. A lot of people are going to be playing for their jobs and their futures for that team, especially in the coaching staff. So I think that it's important that he put that pressure there. I do think the strength of schedule matters. I know it played a big role for the Patriots last year, and they made it to the Super Bowl in part because they were in good position because of that strength of schedule. The Bengals will probably split their divisional games, because that's kind of what happens in that division pretty often. No matter who the best or worst teams are, you end up kind of splitting those out. And yeah, the strength of schedule will help them bolster the rest of that and be in position to win the division. And winning the division gets you closer to potentially getting that bye, which makes everything easier, especially for the quarterback like Joe Burrow that Tim mentioned has had trouble staying healthy.
Yeah, look, a lot of these guys are playing for their jobs. We talked about Jordan Battle yesterday. This segment is on our YouTube channel, but like, if Jordan Battle doesn't show up and ball out and play well, Kyle Duggar's here, and that's going to be the case, and he's in a contract year, and there are a lot of guys like that. Jalen Davis is playing for a lot. Like, it's not just the stars, it's not just the obvious, it's not just Zac Taylor coaching for his job. It's Al Golden, it's the cornerbacks coach Chuck Burks. It's really everybody that's been a part of this organization. It's Dan Pitcher, in his mind, probably thinking, hey, I need to put myself in position for a head coaching job. But on the other side, if they go 6-11 again, Dan Pitcher might not even be the OC next year. And so there's a lot of pressure on these guys now that, at least for my money, and it's June 25th, that you can't say they don't have the talent. They don't have the pieces. This is the Bengals were where the Reds were last year, or the Reds currently are, where you can say, oh, well, Tito doesn't have enough to work with necessarily. And so that can be part of the reason, even if he frustrates you. Last year, Zac Taylor might have frustrated a lot of people. It was very clear they didn't have enough talent either. And so that's definitely part of it. You could say the same thing in 2024. Definitely part of it. And so health is a huge factor. But beyond that, you needed to upgrade your talent. So they've done that, and they've put themselves in a position where even if Joe misses a month, well, you have Joe Flacco. You have talent around him. You should be able to find a way to go 2-2 over that month. And so, yeah, I think this is very much a make or break, if you want to put it that way, type of season for a lot of people in the building.
And I think a name that you didn't mention there, which also has a ton of pressure, is Joe himself. I mean, it's 3 years, even removing the health aspect of things, it's 3 years he's been outside of the playoffs. Joe Burrow very vocally wants to be viewed as one of the best players in the NFL, and there's only one way to make sure you're not in those conversations, and it's to miss the playoffs. It's very hard to be viewed as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL if you're consistently missing the playoffs, if you're not playing in those big games in late January and early February, and for the last few years, it hasn't. And with the team with a quarterback like Joe Burrow, the pressure never goes away. It just shifts. And the pressure after these last 3 years was on the front office to get that infusion of talent, to add players to this roster. Now, through the offseason, the pressure's shifted to the coaches to get these players ready to go by week 1, have everyone gel in the locker room, get familiar with the scheme and the system, and play their best ball against the Buccaneers in week 1, not in week 4 or week 5 or in November like we've seen in the last few years. And then once week 1 rolls around, the pressure shifts to the players. You have to execute that game plan. You have to go put your best foot forward, and you have to stay healthy and on the field and play your best ball. And I think that's the exciting thing right now is, at least in June, this is the best job that first group has done so far in getting the roster where it needs to be, getting the talent to where it needs to be. And now the pressure shifts to the coaches before it shifts to the players, and hopefully they keep winning with flying colors here. And that's the thing with this Bengals team this offseason that took a huge step, was it was so far outside of anything this organization has done before, which was the only chance to really shift this pressure. There were so many needs on defense. You had to take big swings to remove that talent point from the conversation about the defense. Well, when you go out a Brian Cook and a Boye Mafe and a Jonathan Allen and a Dexter Lawrence, that's a lot of talent to add to a defense in one offseason. So that talking point goes away, and now you can focus on just playing football, which is something I imagine these guys have wanted to focus on for the last 3 years when there's been injuries and other talking points clouding this team.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Joe Burrow later in the show, but I think it's very much for Joe, certainly for the coaching staff, all right, now we can do our job.
Yes.
Now we can show them. And that's an awesome place to be in. Hey, now the lights are going to be on and we got to work really hard, but we know we're going to have a real chance. And not we have Joe Burrow, count us out at your own risk chance. Like a real chance, hey, we have dogs that we can lean on, consistency on the back end of the defense, a guy in Dexter Lawrence that completely transforms how opposing offenses have to deal with your defense. Like, there's layers to it, and belief is a powerful thing. And they haven't, not that they've never, I was trying to explain this to a few different people over the past few weeks. And I feel like they've always believed, like, hey, on Sunday, on Thursday, on Monday night, we can go out there and win. But when you look around and you're like, dog, awesome player, proven vet, guy who's really hungry to get a ring, and those are all on defense now, like real leaders, real legitimate pieces, not young guys you're hoping can do enough to stay around or prove themselves. That is a powerful, powerful thing. And I think that's it, is the Bengals, not that they didn't believe they could, but now they look at it and they're like, well, we should. And it's a very different line between the two. And so those expectations, I think they have that for themselves as well. And part of that is the moves that they've made.
Well, we've seen those expectations shift just from Joe Burrow's press conferences over this offseason. And over the last couple seasons, the point has been pretty consistently, I need to be perfect in order to win these games or make any kind of run in the playoffs. Now,
the Buffalo game is a perfect
absolutely.
example.
Well, there's a ton of examples over the last 3 years.
He's the best quarterback on the field with Josh Allen for 3.5 quarters.
And if you don't score a touchdown every drive, can't win a game. Mm-hmm. And now that shifts this year to what he's saying about expectations about this team. Joe Burrow, go win a Super Bowl. It's not the division. It's not make it back to the playoffs. It's not win one game. It's not get back into these conversations as a contender. It's go win. And I think that's just a product of looking around the locker room and seeing those guys and comparing it to the 2019 LSU team and the pressure that was on that team after Joe's first year in Baton Rouge didn't go quite the way as planned. It's pretty similar here in terms of you have all of these guys that should be winning, should be at or near that mountaintop, and for the last 3 seasons they haven't been. Now you have a lot more guys that have been added with that same goal. Obviously, Boye Mafe, Brian Cook, past champions as well, but Jonathan Allen, Dexter Lawrence, a lot of these guys are fighting for their first one after long, productive careers. So adding them to this locker room, leaders and really good players throughout their career with the same goals as the other guys that are stars in this locker room, I think is a great way to just light that flame and really push everyone forward into this season and give the best effort for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, it's fun, it's exciting, and I totally agree with Dominic Foxworth. There are a lot of players and coaches coaching and playing for their job, and guess what? If you feel like you have a chance and you're in position to succeed, that's how you want it. That's how you want it. That's what you ask for.